start your engines because tonight we're seeing RuPaul's Drag Race live at the Flamingo. Let's go.
That's right. In this video, we will be checking out RuPaul's Drag Race live at the Flamingo on 2 separate occasions, 6 months apart, to see if it's worth seeing the show not only once, but twice. I'll be comparing and contrasting our experiences at each show, as well as giving you some helpful hints on how to save money on tickets. At the end, I'll give you my final thoughts. You're gonna want to stick around for that. Before we get started, I'd really appreciate if you consider smashing that like button and subscribing to the channel. It's totally free for you and really helps me keep delivering this free content to you. And now, on with the show. First, a little bit of background about the show. RuPaul's Drag Race Live is a variety-style show featuring past competitors from the TV show RuPaul's Drag Race, performing a mix of original music, lip syncs, comedy, and dance numbers. The show premiered on January 26, 2020 and ran until March 15, 2020, when you know what, put performances on hold. Fortunately, performances resumed in January 2022 and currently runs 5 nights a week at the Flamingo, Las Vegas. We first checked this show out in the summer of 2023. At the time, the show was hosted by Latrice Royale, and it was actually going to be her last night as the host there, and featured Bosco, Coco Montrese, Derek Barry, Kennedy Davenport, and Pangina Heels. Funnily enough, we actually bumped into Yara Sofia at the show, and spoiler alert, she would go on to be performing the next time we checked it out. More on that to follow. This was an all-around great cast, as each brought something to the table, whether it be comedy, dancing, etc. A little bit of background, I actually saw Coco Montrese and Derek Barry perform at the Divas show about 10 years or so ago. Comment below if you saw that show hosted by Frank Marino. It was during the brief time the casino was called the Quad, which was formerly Imperial Palace and is now known as the Link. Derek just can't help but be Britney, and I live for it, and I could watch Coco Montrese's Janet Jackson all night. At our second time seeing the show, it was hosted by Asia O'Hara, with performances once again by Coco Montrese and Kennedy Davenport, but with new cast members Georges, Lawrence Chaney, and Yara Sofia. Again, another well-rounded cast who each brought something to the show. I also noticed some of the pit crew members had changed since we last saw the show. Whether they just had breaks on certain nights or whether people left the show, I'm not sure. What I love about the show is that it's ever-changing. Without spoiling too much, the show feels much like an episode of RuPaul's Drag Race in that the queens are introduced much like they would be on the beginning of a new season, there are challenges throughout, a runway at the end, as well as a winner. I will say, the format and the songs of the show were the same both times, but with different queens performing on different nights, it does help to make it feel like a slightly different show. For example, Coco Montrese's and Kennedy Davenport's talent portions were the same both times. Both were phenomenal performances, mind you. But because 3 of the queens were different the second time we saw the show, we did see some different talent performances. One gripe I did have was that there's 0 live singing, and I get it, we're at a drag show and lip syncing is something you expect to see. But even the original songs performed didn't use the queens' voices. I think it would have been nice to hear them sing even if it was pre-recorded. Ticket prices range anywhere from $75 to $142 plus service fees, of course. The first time we saw the show, our tickets were around $100 plus service fees, and our seats were pretty decent. But we actually found a couple of little hacks to save a few bucks. For one, if you're a T-Mobile customer, there is a code you can use to save money on tickets, but unfortunately being from Canada, we don't have T-Mobile. That said, we did find tickets on Groupon for around $66, and you know Groupon always likes throwing out those additional 10 or 20% off promo codes. We also bought tickets last minute on a night that was a bit more quiet. We noticed there were a lot of empty seats on the main floor, but we purchased the cheapest tickets on the mezzanine. In true Vegas fashion, you never know when your luck is going to strike, and they ended up closing the mezzanine as it was a quieter night and we were upgraded to better seats on the main floor at no extra charge. But I always recommend doing some Googling and trying to find ways to save. Vegas.com is another good site to save a few bucks on tickets, but please comment below if you have any other ways to save money on tickets. Another potential way to save money is they did seem pretty lenient about bringing drinks in there with you, but they were checking bags, so don't expect to be able to bring a whole 2-4 or like a 26er in there. They did have drinks for sale outside, but be careful as these were not cheap. We bought a couple of tequilas on the rocks and they both came to over $100, and it was the same tequila they gave us for free when we were playing on the machines. They also do serve drinks inside and will come to your table throughout the show, and again, these are not the cheapest. I bought a round for 4 of us, 2 of which were just glasses of wine, and it came to over $100, but that's Vegas for you. They do have some themed cocktails in there, which I thought was nice, but there were no menus on the table showcasing this. I mentioned to our server I wanted a tequila-based cocktail, and she said they had one called Snatch Your Wig or something along those lines. But again, I think if they actually had a menu on the table with these funny theme names and a little description of what's in them, people would probably be more inclined to order them and share them on social media and whatnot, but that's just me. All in all, I would say just be prepared to be entertained and have a good time. There is some audience interaction, especially if you're sitting up front, so hopefully you're not shy. I would definitely say this is the kind of show you could see again and again, as the rotating cast does make the show slightly different each time. There were also some local celebrities in attendance, which was kind of cool. As mentioned, Yara Sofia was in the audience, and we took a picture with her after the show, as well as drag legend Hot Chocolate, who I've seen perform as Tina Turner on the Las Vegas Strip many moons ago. Just an all-around fun night out. That said, stay tuned for some additional final thoughts. RuPaul's Drag Race Live at the Flamingo. Honestly, guys, we had such a blast at that show. I was a bit concerned about the time, not gonna lie, because it starts around, I think around 9:30, and with the time change and everything for us, I thought it was gonna be a little bit too late, but we were wide awake, loving it. Yeah, had a blast. Now, who I think this would appeal for, like, is this spot right for you? I would say 100% if you are a fan of Drag Race, the show, then you're gonna enjoy the show. If you're a fan of, RuPaul, you're probably gonna enjoy the show as well. If you're a fan of just drag in general, I think you're gonna have a good time and just enjoy it. Even if you're not necessarily a direct fan of drag itself, just the appreciation of choreography, of dancing, of the stage presence, the costumes, all that stuff, I think it's gonna make you really enjoy it as well. I will say though, if you are, those who know, if you do watch Drag Race, the humor is very meta. So if there was a lot of references to things that happened on the show, that said, if you didn't watch the show, you probably still would enjoy it. But I think that it definitely helps if you have watched the show, because they do make references to certain situations on it, and catchphrases and things like that. But just something to bear in mind. I will also mention, I was a little bit disappointed to see some people in the crowd who clearly just didn't want to be there. People who had obviously been dragged there by their wives or girlfriends or their kids perhaps, who were literally staring down at their phones the whole time, refusing to watch the show, who were sitting there arms crossed with sourpusses on, and basically had made up their minds probably before they even got in there that they weren't going to enjoy the show. We even saw people sleeping. This show obviously isn't going to be for everybody, and that's understandable. If you don't think this show is going to be for you, your best bet is really just to not go. I mean, there's so many different shows on the Las Vegas Strip for you to attend, and so many different options for you, that I really would say just maybe skip it and find something else to do that night. To me, to go to a show and disrespect the artists like that who are just there to try and entertain us, to disrespect even the people around you by sleeping and just bringing the energy level down by just being miserable, I would just say skip it. Like I said, this show is not going to be for everybody, and that's fine. Drag may not be everybody's thing, but to go there with the purpose of not having a good time and sort of being a fun sponge for everybody else, I would say just skip it and find something else to do. People pay good money to see that show. Performers are worked really, really hard to put on this show. Let's just be a little more respectful, I would say. Anyway, that being said, I don't want to give away too much, because then you're not going to bother to go see the show, so we won't do that. But anyway, if you found this at all helpful, please consider hitting that like button. Please consider subscribing to the channel. There's a little button right there. It's totally free for you. Really helps me to keep delivering this free content to you guys. Any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them below. It all helps with the algorithm, and it also helps me with future videos to know what you guys are looking for in my content. Once again, it's been Daniel Spotlight, and we'll see you in the next one.